Hey there, self-care warriors. Welcome back to Self-Care Haven. So today I wanted to share with you some affirmations that I wrote about no contact. And you might have seen my previous video from years ago about mantras for no contract, and it was more like a manifesto and a speech. And I wanted to come up with 30 or more sort of phrases or sentences that you can basically rely on to reconnect with your sense of reality, ground yourself in the acts of hoovering or during emotional flashbacks or cravings or urges to reconnect with your narcissistic abuser. So whether you were left by a narcissist or you left the narcissist, these affirmations will hopefully help you to ground yourself back into the reality of being a survivor and thriver. So I was actually writing these on my cell phone, so I'll have to read them out, so you'll see me looking down. But one fun fact is that when I was actually typing these up, I was, at a coffee shop, and this song just began playing out of nowhere while I was typing it, and the song's chorus was basically a repetition of the phrase, "I'm never going back." So if that's not a sign that I should share these with you all, I don't know what is. I think that's a miracle. Just a note for those of you who may be triggered by strong language, one of these phrases does have a swear word. Usually I don't warn against this, but just in case it triggers you, I will say that it is, I'm trying to figure out the number so that you can be warned. It is number 21. So once I get to number 21, if you don't want to hear any strong language, that's fine. If it triggers you, just skip ahead to the rest, okay? And I'll try to make a note right before I say it as well. So my first affirmation for no contact, which I hope will help, is every act of silence is a protection against psychological violence. Let me repeat that. Every act of silence is a protection against psychological violence, right? Every time you choose not to respond to your narcissistic abuser, you are showing that you value yourself, you value your time, and you value your right to be free from abuse and mistreatment, right? Now, even if you're in a low contact situation with a narcissistic abuser, these can still be modified and customized to fit to your particular situation, right? So don't worry if you feel like, well, these don't apply to me because I'm still co-parenting with a narcissistic abuser. I still have to maintain contact with them. There's still a way to customize it to your specific needs. These are just basically suggestions for affirmations. The second one is, I have a right to be free from abuse. Every human being has that right, and I do too. We have to remember that we are just like any other human being who has never tolerated abuse, right? They have never tolerated it because they knew that they had a right to be free from abuse. Now, we may have tolerated so much because of the effects of trauma, right? Because of the effects of the trauma repetition cycle. There's many reasons why people get into abusive relationships and stay way past the first incident of abuse. But acknowledging the fact that we have that basic right to be free from abuse and mistreatment, and the fact that no one has the right to take that away from you, is super powerful. Number 3, building upon that, no one can take away the power I have within me. Now, in my last video, I talked about how we are the life source, we are the light, we have the power within us. Narcissistic abusers don't have that power. They have no sense of core identity. They need us basically to survive. We don't need them. Even if it feels like you do, if you're devastated right now, it might feel like you do, but you really do not need them in your life. Number 4, my will is stronger than an abuser's attempts to bully me. Now, if you're suffering from PTSD, complex PTSD, and you're hearing all of the words that your abuser has said to you, if you are being met with hoovering attempts to basically guilt you back into the relationship, shame you back into the abuse cycle, remember, the abuser's fog, obligation, and guilt tactics can't work on you unless you let them, right? You have the power to say no and enforce your boundaries during no contact. Only you can save yourself. Number 5, I am stronger than empty threats. Often what happens when we leave a narcissistic abuser is that they become narcissistically injured, enraged, they have lost power and control over you, and they want to bring you back into the abuse cycle so they can put you through an even worse discard and devaluation than before to punish you for leaving them in the first place, right? Don't let them do that. You are stronger than their empty threats. If they are making threats towards you, document them. If you need to get a restraining order, get it. Do everything you can to legally protect yourself during this time, and know that no empty threats can make you go back, because they might try to control you again through these empty threats, but who wants to be in a relationship where basically someone is trying to force you back in, right? Okay, so number 6 is I will defend and protect myself no matter what. And again, this goes back to legal protection as well. If there's anything you can do legally right now to protect yourself, do it. Whether it means hiring a private investigator, documenting all the texts, voicemails, calls as harassment, getting a protection order. Research the laws in your state, see what resources are available to you, consult any domestic violence centers or community centers or psychologists that you can find in your local area. Go to a meetup group catering to people who have been through the abuse that you have. Find support groups in your area that cater to this type of issue of domestic violence, of covert emotional abuse. Number 7, I never give up. I keep going. So no matter how hard it becomes, you never give up. No matter how many times you feel like you failed, you never give up. You keep going, right? I know some of you may have broken no contact. Maybe you responded to a hoovering attempt. That doesn't mean all is lost. You can get back on the wagon, right? How do you beat an addiction? You keep going. You don't judge yourself. You just keep going. Keep getting back on that wagon. 8, my life is worth more than empty promises. When a narcissistic abuser is hoovering you, they're often basically utilizing you. They're hoovering you back into the abuse cycle. They're basically promising you all the things that they did in the beginning of the relationship, all the promises that were never carried out. These are empty promises, and you are worth more than that. You are worth more than their empty promises. You deserve someone who is going to fulfill your needs, because you deserve more than empty promises. You deserve the real thing, and you can wait for the real thing if you need to. Number 9, this is life or death, and I choose life every time. As I talked about in my last video on narcissistic abuse and the breakup and no contact and healing, this is a life or death situation. I know some of you may not think of mental health as life or death, but it is. It is all about preserving your sanity. It is all about choosing the life that is best for you. Every minute of the day that you waste on a narcissistic abuser is a minute that you've lost forever. Don't waste any more time. This is a life or death situation. Choose life each time, each and every time. Number 10. Loneliness is infinitely better than any form of abuse, right? Because when we're alone, we might not even feel lonely, honestly. We might probably feel relieved that we're out of that abuse cycle. But let's say you do feel alone during times of no contact. That's normal, right? We will have times where we will have mixed feelings about our abuser. The good memories will start to flood back. When that happens, you have to stop it in its track and start to modify the narrative behind it. Remember, the good memories you shared together, you were the one who was invested in them, not them. They were not all there, as I said in my last video. So yes, you got to enjoy some good times, but does that ever justify any of the bad ones? Probably not. Definitely not, I should say. Number 11, I deserve so much more than to be an emotional punching bag. When we're with a narcissistic abuser, it's not a reciprocal, mutually respectful relationship. You are an emotional punching bag for them. They get to spew all of their hatred, all of their garbage, all of their projections, all of their disgusting flaws onto you, and you are there to take it, basically. And it is horrible and vile the way that they train and condition you into fearing them and into believing in their falsehoods about you. It is really time to take your power back and realize that you are not an emotional punching bag. You are not a, garbage can for them to dispose of their own emotional vomit. They have issues that they need to work with, and it has to happen within. It can't happen while you're there to take their crap, and you're there to accept their projections, and you're there to basically be there as a punching bag for them to take out all of their rage and their frustration and their entitlement, right? Sometimes they're not even angry, it's just that they're controlling, and they love the feeling of being powerful and in control. Don't let them take your power away from you. Number 12, I can communicate my feelings to people who deserve my voice, not people who have tried to take it away or silence it. Now, this was part of my bigger manifesto on no contact, right? Because it talks about how we don't have to use our voice with people who have tried to silence us. We can use that voice to help other people. We can use that voice for people who actually care about us, who actually give a damn about us, right? Not people who couldn't give less of a shit about us. So it's really time for you to reserve your voice for those who actually care and show that they're invested in you. And if you have no one in your life right now that seems to care, that's fine too. Care about yourself. You are your number one priority. And that goes on to the 13th affirmation, which is my mental health is my number one priority. Now, of course, you're going to have other goals and tasks during the day to worry about. But make sure that during this time, you're engaging in extreme self-care. Your number one priority right now is your sanity, is your mental health, and preserving your mental health. Make sure to check in with yourself each minute of the day to make sure that you are not on the verge of a breakdown, right? Because you need to be able to validate all of the emotions that are coming up. Work with a professional if you need it. And if you are recovering from a narcissistically abusive relationship, it's so important to have that sort of validating professional support if you can find it. It's a godsend for survivors to have that sort of support and an outsider perspective that can really help you reconnect back to the reality of the abuse, especially when you are being hoovered, right? And number 14 is staying sane is more important than being validated by an abuser. When we're on the no contact journey, we might find ourselves wanting the narcissist's validation. We might want them to apologize, take responsibility for their actions, own up to the mean, cruel, vile things that they did during the relationship and after the discard or after we discarded them. But unfortunately, the reality is that they will probably never give us that sense of closure. So we have to give ourselves closure in knowing our reality, validating our emotions, knowing what we experienced. Number 15, I trust my own reality. Trust your own reality. Number 16, I know and trust what I experienced and felt. No one can convince me otherwise. I don't care how many harem members love the narcissistic abuser. I don't care if the narcissistic abuser is on Time magazine as Man or Woman of the Year. It's time for you to reconnect with the person you saw behind closed doors. That is what you experienced. That was your reality. No one has the right to distort your reality and what you experienced and felt during the relationship. Number 17, I validate myself. It's important to journal about the abuse so that you can reconnect with the reality and reconnect with your emotions and your authenticity and validate what you went through. Validate the experiences that you had with this abuser. Validate the fact that you were hurt. Validate the fact that you were angry. Validate the fact that you felt disgusted. Everything and anything that comes up during this time, validate it. It's your experience, it's your healing journey, and no one can tell you otherwise. Number 18, I am worthy, I am beautiful or handsome, I am brave, I am strong, I am fearless. Now, this is just a cluster of positive affirmations, but I find it helpful for us to remind ourselves that we are precious with or without the narcissistic abuser, and they don't define us. They were the ones who sought us out for their lifeblood. We have the beautiful qualities that they so need. Number 19, each minute, each hour, each day, each month, each year, I'm growing stronger. The more time you spend away from the narcissist, the more time you have to heal, and the more time you spend with people who might authentically care about you. And even if you don't spend time with anybody else, at least you'll be spending time with you, and that is someone who authentically cares about you, right? Number 20, leaving or being left was the best thing that ever happened to me. I made that happen. It was your agency, it was your powerful light that got you through the worst moments of your life, so never underestimate your strength. Number 21, and this contains strong language, so if you're not interested in that, that's fine, just skip over this. Number 21, I am a motherfucking badass. I can survive anything, and I will thrive. Let me repeat that. I am a motherfucking badass. I can survive anything, and I will thrive. It's important to remember that we are motherfucking badasses. We can survive and thrive after anything. After narcissistic abuse, we can kick ass. We can survive just about anything. So don't underestimate us. And don't underestimate yourself. Number 22, do no harm, take no shit. And this is from a meme that I continually see, but I don't know the exact source, but it is a great affirmation, right? Because we don't have to hurt anybody, we don't have to retaliate, we don't have to go after anybody in order to basically set boundaries for ourselves and live healthy lives. And that goes back to number 23. Karma can answer to him or her, your abuser. I'm too busy, right? Imagine that karma is taking the call. You don't need to do anything. Let the narcissist learn at their own pace what life is about. You don't need to teach them. You don't need to educate them. You don't need to teach them how to be a decent human being. They will either learn it or never learn it for themselves. And for you, it's time to heal. Number 24. I am the life source. I am the light. Without me, there is nothing to feed on. Narcissistic abusers depend on your light. They are emotional vampires. They will try to suck the lifeblood out of you. It's up to you to reserve your power and not let them feed upon you. Because the more they feed upon you, the more nourished they will be, the bigger their ego will get, the more supply they'll have, the more they'll mistreat and abuse and treat you like an emotional punching bag while you get away feeling drained, malnourished, and underfed. 25, this is perhaps one of the most important reminders. They don't miss me as a person. They miss controlling and mistreating me. They miss putting me down. Remember when a narcissistic abuser texts you or calls you or tries to hoover you saying, hey, I miss you. I miss the times we had together. What they're really saying is, I miss mistreating you. I miss having control over your emotions. I miss seeing your emotions when I, got one over you. Don't let them treat you that way. Number 26, they don't love or care about me. They care about fulfilling their own needs. It's all about them. Normal partners would leave their partners alone after a breakup. Narcissistic abusers often stalk, hoover, harass, and sometimes even assault their former victims to regain power and control. It's time to realize it's about their self-interest. It's not about loving or caring or showing remorse towards you, right? And you will never get an authentic apology from a narcissistic abuser, because once you reject their apology or say, oh, I accept your apology, but I'm not going back, they will rage. It's not about remorse for them. It's not about asking for forgiveness. It's not about missing you. It's about missing the fact that they can no longer mistreat you. Number 27, each time I don't respond or enforce a boundary, I remind myself of what I am worth. You are truly worthy, warrior, and you don't need anybody else to validate that for you. Know that within yourself, you are worthy. You are so worthy. You are enough. So you don't need them to validate your worth. And each time that you basically Silently say no to them through no contact. You are validating your own worth and your right to live a life free of abuse and mistreatment. Number 28, I care about and love myself. It's time for you to love yourself, to care about your well-being. All that caring and nurturing and caretaking that you had towards the narcissist, towards your abuser, put it back onto yourself. Make sure that you know what you're worth and that you are worthy of being taken care of. Even if you're the only one taking care of you, that's fine too. Number 29, we're almost done with this list. I am my own best friend. I am my own best advocate. Now, you can have a very strong, nourishing support network, but at the end of the day, the only person responsible for your healing is you. You have to advocate for yourself every single second of the day. Be your own best friend. Be your own best advocate. Know what is right for you. Know your triggers, know the resources that best help you, and cut out any toxic influences from your life that are derailing your healing process. And number 30, last but not least, I love myself. Truly and always, I love myself. And for the first time in a long time, I'm putting myself first. So I hope you've enjoyed that list of 30 affirmations for no contact. And I'd love to have you add on to that list. I'm hoping to make a article version of these affirmations. So if you want to add anything to the list, or if you want to just share with other survivors, that's fine too. Just leave your comment in the comment section below, your affirmation, and I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, take care.